video, and I'm going to talk today about the new moon that was actually yesterday, but the new moon stays in effect for the day before and the day following, and it's still a great time to set intentions with the new moon, especially because it is the Capricorn new moon, and the Venus retrograde with Capricorn is going to be highlighting this for the next cycle. It's also the new year, so that's exciting as well, and sending everybody a lot of blessings and a lot of love for these new times, as I think this year is going to be one of a lot of really significant changes. So beyond the new moon, later in the video I'll talk about some of the things coming up this year and through January, so stay tuned. And if you want to subscribe to updates, if you go to my website, Dante Starshine, I'm sending out emails once a week about the live stream channeling sessions and about various other things. So I'm actually going to be taking a break from doing sessions for a couple of weeks from January 11th till the end of the month to finish working on my book, finishing the editing process, and just dial in some time for myself, as sometimes it has felt a little bit overwhelming to be working with so many different energies. So if you'd like to book in a session, please do so before then. I still have some openings before. Okay, so diving in, the new moon is in Capricorn, and it is not far off from Venus. So Capricorn is this sign that's very practical, earthy, and focused. And while the new moon is not making so many aspects itself, it does set the tone for a very serious kind of practical cycle of Capricorn. However, with Venus retrograde in Capricorn, it can feel as if those Capricornian things that bring us to face our goals and climb the mountain are kind of moving slower than usual and don't have as much momentum as they usually do. And new moons are times of setting intention, but when it is conjunct a retrograde planet, it does highlight that energy of greater review, greater integration, greater introspection. And of course, with the new year as well, it sets a tone of coming into setting our intentions for the entire year. So hopefully some people have taken the time to do that. The new moon is trine to Uranus. Trines are a harmonious aspect, and also the trine aspect is one of bringing things into flow and alignment. And Uranus is a planet of change, revolution, rebellion, innovation. So it can bring something sudden or unexpected with this new moon. Yesterday we might have gotten this sort of new insight or clarity that kind of changed the game for us. For me yesterday, I was getting a lot of different messages and insights and kind of feeling like suddenly moving in a new direction because of the different things that happened. And that can happen, of course, before the new moon or after it. So you might want to ask yourself, what kind of insight are you getting? What new messages? What kind of things are changing in your consciousness now? And this is especially important because when Venus goes direct later in the month, Venus will be trine to Uranus as well. So this new moon is kind of like setting our intention for what's going to happen when Venus starts to go direct again, as that's going to bring a lot of development, and all of the review that we do about our relationships and our values during Venus retrograde starts to kind of integrate and form into something new when Venus goes direct, and Uranus goes direct this month as well. So Uranus goes direct about halfway through the month, and Venus goes direct towards the end of the month. And the relationship between these two planets again brings change and innovation in the area of our values and how we relate to our resources and how we relate to other people, especially those that we love. And for me, it's brought in new love and new ways of relating to love. And it was interesting. It's in this two vibration. The 222 year starts off with this Venus retrograde, because two is so much about partnership. And I won't spoil anything, but I missed the Venus retrograde because I had a day off yesterday. I mean, I missed the report on this at the exact moment because I had a day off yesterday. I went to see this new Matrix movie, as it was the only day I didn't have sessions. And it was just really interesting how a theme that evolves through this is so much of this movie was about there being the one, but we start to see more and more that the one is so much more powerful with the two, and almost the one does not have the power without that other aligning partner. And so it's these polarities within us. This life is about relationship. We wouldn't be here without other people. All of our life is based on the exchange of energy between self and other. And so it is that fundamental dynamic that really sets up the foundation of our lives. And we will be learning a lot about this through Venus retrograde and through this year, 222. So the other things that are taking place in this moment of the new moon is, I'm not in the States, I'm in Mexico. By the beach in Oaxaca, Mexico. So the other thing taking place with this new moon is Saturn sextile Mars, and Mars is this planet about quick movement, moving forward, taking action, and Saturn is about hard work and things that take place over a long period of time. When we have Saturn aspects, it does require us to do a bit more hard work, a bit more focused with our energy, and Mars requires us to take action. So this is a time where we might be taking hard work with our actions, but it does indicate that those actions will pay off, and that there won't be many things impeding the movement of said actions, or perhaps with Saturn there might be, but it means that if we really focus and do our work at this time, there can be great reward, and it can be really important to take those action steps into things that have been really important to us for some time. So Jupiter itself has now ingressed into a new sign. Jupiter has been in the signs of Capricorn and Aquarius for over 2 years. And as these are Saturn-ruled signs, Jupiter doesn't have as much what we call in astrology dignity in those signs. It's like when a planet's dignity is based on the rulership of that sign and what planets are, what signs that planet is associated with, and so on. But now Jupiter moves into the sign of Pisces, where Jupiter has a lot of dignity because Pisces is one of the ruling signs of Jupiter. And we had a really brief window of Jupiter and Pisces in August and July, and it felt like a little period of like being very much more open to dreaming, being much more hopeful, optimistic, and connected with the spirit world, because that's what Jupiter and Pisces is about. And Pisces is so much this archetype of the storyteller, so we might find ourselves exploring our inner narratives and creating new narratives in this time. We might find ourselves really tapping into our dream reality and finding renewal in our spirituality. When Jupiter was first in Pisces, when Jupiter was in Pisces like 12 or 10 years ago, that was a time when spirituality really started opening for me, and I really had some of my first awakenings and initiations. So Jupiter and Pisces can bring greater spirituality, and the shadow of Jupiter and Pisces can be some delusion, as Pisces is about delusion, perhaps not seeing things as clearly. So we want to make sure there's this check between our dreams and reality, that we're really staying real with things, but we're also inspired to love and dream and share our love so freely, and let our heart guide us, and know that this inner wisdom is taking us in these directions of great openness and surrender, and to trust our inner spiritual vision. starting a lawsuit, lots of hard work. Yeah, it can also be something with Venus retrograde that progresses, and as Venus is sometimes connected with the law. So hopefully, through this month, something like that comes into greater clarity. And so Mars is about to come to square Neptune, and we've had one of these squares not too long ago as well. Mars square Neptune can bring, as Neptune's about illusion, Mars is about aggression. It can bring conflicts that aren't necessarily real. We want to really make sure that if there's anything that's triggering this aggression in us, that what's triggering it is actually a real, tangible thing and not just an illusion. The positive side of this can be fighting for greater spiritual causes and for really the truth of what's right for us. So spiritual warrior energy is a positive aspect of this transit that's taking place quite soon. Over the next couple of days as well, during this Venus retrograde, Venus is in conjunct Black Moon Lilith, and Lilith is this goddess of freedom and rebellion and the wild feminine. So the in conjunction is like when two things don't quite line up, and it creates a subtle tension and a sort of awkwardness that can catalyze something. So we might find in this time that we want to be free in our relationships, that we want to rebel against something, that whatever the change in our values is that comes up in this Venus retrograde is really kind of triggered in this way, where we don't feel as free or we feel outcast, and we want to stand for that. So pay attention to that and channel your inner rebel in beautiful, loving ways. And again, about the Venus retrograde, when it goes direct in alignment with Uranus, and Uranus goes direct soon as well. So Uranus direct is something that I look forward to a lot, because Uranus has been a bit weaker in the square with Saturn. The ongoing square of Saturn, if you paid attention to my astrology videos or any astrology videos, that is connected with all of these lockdowns and enforcements and all of the other regulations, the requirement of this injection that's taking place in the world. All of this has to do with Uranus and Saturn, as Uranus is about authority and control, and Uranus is about freedom. And now that Uranus goes direct again, Uranus gains more power, and this more rebellious, wild, innovative force comes back online. So that can mean that there's a lot of different changes taking place, maybe new technologies coming in, maybe earth changes coming in, but it does also mean that in this sort of fight between people and governments, that people might gain an upper hand. And I really see this 2022 as the year where freedom really comes into being on the planet again after all of these lockdowns, because we come into restriction to move into greater freedom is the natural cycles of reality. And yeah, freedom, let's bring it in. But in order for that to happen, it's not like we can be passive in this. It's that we have to be a part of the awakening force. And Uranus is a planet of awakening. So Uranus is going to square Saturn again later in the year. And Uranus is also going to have the support of the North Node that is about to change signs very soon. The North Node moving into the same sign with Uranus also signifies this shift into awakening power. And I myself have grown very weary of anything that's like, let's try and keep the peace between people, because that was my message for so long. But now it's about, look at the truth of this, that we are being oppressed, and we are being forced to participate, and we are losing our freedom, and we are being lied to. Our expression is not being allowed to take its full reign. And in order for this to really move into clarity, we might need to be that greater force of awakening. And some people don't want to be that force of awakening. I talk to a lot of people around the world who struggle with these times. And one thing that I hear so often is that people are falling out of our lives because our belief systems are different, and the way that we see this global situation is different. And it's important to keep peace and not fight and not push people out of our lives, but also recognize that when we don't have to change our views and we don't have to soften our truth and we don't have to dilute our truth in order to keep people in our lives. And so Uranus is also about letting go and cutting off and casting out. So we might be seeing naturally that people fall away out of our lives, and we have to embrace that and accept that as the natural process of how things come to be, because that's really what brings us into alignment with the people that matter the most to us and teaches us what our values are. And again, this time is about rapidly shifting and changing values. So don't resist and come to speak your truth and come to stand for our freedom, because we need to be together holding each other and letting the people who still want to be controlled, because a lot of people want to be controlled because they don't trust themselves. They're in so much fear that they want to believe that these controlling forces have their best interests, and it's easier to not recognize your freedom and to give your power to choose away to this higher force and not take sovereignty and not take accountability. And we have to, in a sense, wake people up to the reality that when you give away your choice, you give away your power, you give away your love. And there's really dangerous things that are happening that can impact a lot of people. And it's only a matter of time when we see more of the repercussions of this, and we see that this goes on longer and longer, that people are going to want to wake up. And we have to be there encouraging them and loving them and ready and so filled with exuberance, like, yes, like, let's change everything on this planet, because that's what these times are about, is that we're literally here to change everything about the way the planet works. And we can't do that by being this, like, blindly optimistic being that's like, it's all love and light all the time. It's like we have to face the parasitic and fear-based energy that has been present in the world forever. And it's like we learn all of these things in history class about how destructive our world has been, but the irony is then we like go into these education systems and we're like, but things are different now. We live in a world where things are different now, and we're awake and conscious, and we're going to take better care now. But the truth is that these destructive qualities, these fear-based qualities, these aggressions, this exploitation that has always been the part of how we've operated on this planet is still there. And it is being enforced in harsh and incredible ways now. And we have to face this and speak the truth of exactly what it is if we really want to see the planet wake up and change, because we can't hold our voice back anymore. And Venus is about our voice. Venus is ruled by Taurus. Taurus connects with the throat. So Uranus and Taurus invites us also to connect with our throat and revolutionize our throat chakra. And I think so many people with this long transit of Uranus and Taurus experience, wow, like, where's my truth? How do I find myself? I have to maybe use my voice to fight and break free from things, because Uranus is about breaking free. So like the Pleiadian transmission a couple weeks ago, what was it called? Speaking our freedom into being. It's like the voice is so much connected with this revolution taking place. And again, when we look at the dynamics energetically of the throat chakra, it's about manifestation, actually. It's that the word that we speak comes into being. When we fully master our throat chakra, what we speak becomes reality. And so that's the revolution that's happening. That's Uranus and Taurus making this revolution what it is. And so the North Node comes to support that. North Node has been in Gemini, and the South Node has been in Sagittarius, and now we're on that last degree. The mean node has already shifted. The true node's about to shift into the sign of Taurus. And North Node is all about evolution and the force that drives us forward to become something new, to renew ourselves, and it's also about kind of like a craving. The North Node can feel a lot of emptiness. The old mythology of the North Node was it was once one being. It was actually an asura, a being without light, that came to drink the nectar of immortality, but when the other gods realized that it was a demon in that moment, they beheaded the Rahu Ketu, this being, and it became Rahu and Ketu, the north and the south node, because it drank the nectar of immortality. They're forever immortalized, and they chase the moon and the sun and swallow them for a moment, but never fully catch them. So the ancients thought this eclipse energy was a swallowing of the moon, that this north node was hungry. So what we are hungry for, what we crave, drives us to evolve. But also that hunger, when we look at like texts of mysticism and Buddhism, religions like Buddhism, it's like the hunger and the attachment is what creates our suffering as well. So the North Node is also traditionally considered malefic, that if we don't check it, it creates suffering. And Uranus, by traditional astrology, was also considered malefic. But in these new times, we don't see malefic as much as bad, as challenging. When we talk things malefic, oh, that's scary, but it's like, yeah, the malefic, the hard, is what forces us to evolve, and so we give thanks for the evolution. So will I say, oh, 2022 now, that's the angel number, it's all perfect? No, it's a greater challenge coming, and it's actually that greater challenge that brings the greatest evolution and brings us to evolve and become something totally new. So North Node with Uranus is again now this craving to evolve, this craving to break free. When there's enough, and North Node again, because it's lunar, it's unconscious. People aren't aware of it because it's invisible, it's an unseen thing. So people might not even know why they're just so tired of being constrained anymore. But this North Node in Taurus it's also, Taurus is about our creature comforts, our pleasure, having our resources, having the things that bring us joy and comfort and sensuality, and those are things that are really being restrained. We can't go play, go to parties, go out of our houses. It's like these Taurian comforts are being restricted, and now North Node in Taurus makes us want those things so much. Like, give me that pleasure, give me that joy, give me that connection, give me that love, give me that freedom of expression. And this unconscious pressure to break free in these areas is going to come to the surface, and it's going to push the planet into a new realm. But we have to be the ones enacting it. And it won't be as hard anymore with these planetary influences to encourage other people to wake up, because again, North Node is unconscious. There will be an unconscious craving for freedom and for comfort and for pleasure. Then the South Node is in Scorpio. So the South Node entering Scorpio, and South Node is connected to endings, is connected to renunciation, is connecting to letting go or loss, but it's also connected to spirituality. So this means that what guides us in evolving more spiritually in these times is the Scorpio energy. The Scorpio energy being intensity, depth, sexuality, money, the occult and the taboo. Scorpio and the South Node are connected in some ancient forms of astrology, and the North Node and Taurus are connected as well. So that's really good placements for the nodes of the moon. And the South Node in Scorpio, because they're both about letting go, this whole 1.5 year period is going to be a lot about letting go and shedding things and coming to realize what's really important. The truest values of Scorpio is our deep intimacy and connection. And that's why Scorpio is also known as this sort of spiteful sign, because when Scorpio feels betrayed, it brings out this more kind of primitive, instinctual, I'm going to sting you kind of an energy. And Scorpio is also, again, about depth. It's about seeing in the darkness, seeing what is unseen, seeing those things that aren't quite as clear. So this is also going to become really important in these times, is that we're going to be letting go of things to see deeper into the mysteries and see deeper into the unknown. And so let's talk about what is the integration of the nodes in these other signs. The integration of the North Node in Gemini is like, this has all been a time about kind of learning how to work with the mind. Gemini is about the rational, logical mind. Gemini is about integrating oppositional thought forms and seeing them both as true. So what we're integrating through this North Node in Gemini is all about, what is truth? How do we discern information? And how do we know right from wrong? And it's been a time of a lot of confusion. North Node creates delusion and confusion. So we've been in this time where people, we've all been questioning, like, what is reality? Is this true? Could this not be true? People have been vacillating between opinions and perspectives as this information comes in and that information comes in. Who's true? Oh, they're covering certain sources of information up. They're hiding information. North Node hides, obscures Gemini information. So we're kind of moving through that and breaking through it. And talk to some people who've been looking at all sorts of information, and they just get to a point like, I am just exhausted of taking in this new information. So moving out of this focus on information, and now the focus in Taurus is pleasure, comfort, values, connection, speaking truth, making art and beauty. And this comes more to the forefront. That catalyzes us to break free from those things that limit that. South Node in Sagittarius, what we've been integrating through that is, well, one thing is this restriction on long distance travel. Sagittarius is about long distance travel, and South Node always kind of makes us let go and break free from things. And so that South Node in Sagittarius has restricted our travel, and hopefully what we see is with the South Node more in Scorpio is that those restrictions are lifted and we're able to move about more. South Node in Sagittarius is also about knowledge, spiritual knowledge, and beliefs. So we've been letting go of beliefs and all sorts of old perspectives. And now the South Node in Scorpio more is letting go of attachments, letting go of these cravings and these can be letting go of resentments as well. Scorpio has a lot to do with those energies, letting go of things that limit our freedom of expression, of sexuality, of love, and really integrating those energies in us in a beautiful way. So that's a 1.5-year transit, and it's just beginning. We're just feeling the beginning of those planets moving into the Scorpio-Taurus axis. Now, the last thing to mention now is Mercury Retrograde in Aquarius. Mercury Retrograde begins around 11 degrees of Aquarius in the middle of the month, right as the same time as Uranus goes direct, and then afterwards Venus goes direct. So we have these two planets switching on this force of more freedom, more rebellion, more innovation, more love, more connection. But then the planet of communication and intuition and exchange of energy starts to go retrograde. So we know Mercury retrograde is this time where it's good to think more before making decisions, and it's just good to think more. And if there's the chance to not make a decision, buy something, or exchange all this information, it can be better. But sometimes we have to do it anyway. In last Mercury retrograde, I did all of the things, or many things you're not supposed to do. I bought a ticket to fly to a new country and flew. I got a new computer and a new cell phone, and all of those things ended up working out for me. But I did still go through this kind of struggle of, oops, I didn't know that the entry requirements changed for Mexico, and I got stuck in customs for 7 hours and lost a flight. But there's a little bit of Mercury retrograde, but in the long term, those decisions still made it work. So it's like you will face challenges when you make some of these decisions during Mercury retrograde, but if you have to, it still works out good. And because this is an Aquarius, and these degrees, when certain significant things happen in degrees and planets move back to those degrees, that indicates a review or an integration of what that medicine really was, or what that theme really was. And now Mercury retrograde is going to go over the degree of Saturn and Uranus conjunction, and Remember when Saturn first entered into Aquarius, that is when lockdowns and all of these things really popped into the field. So Mercury retrograde over that is like, we're going to review that, and maybe this is a time when they're like, we're done with lockdowns now. We're going to move through a time this year where a lot of these things are vanished, hopefully. It does indicate there's a review and looking back on that. And also Mercury retrograde in Aquarius will especially highlight those aspects of Mercury retrograde that connect with technology, because Aquarius rules technology. And Mercury retrograde in Aquarius can feel a little bit cold. Aquarius connects to coldness. It can feel a little bit weird and uncanny. There can be this sort of supernatural element to it. It then moves back through Capricorn for a little while and passes over some of those degrees of Capricorn that Venus went over. So there is this sort of mental integration that follows this more emotional, relational integration that is Venus retrograde. So that's it. That's January and some looks at the new year and this new moon. So set your intentions, knowing all of these things are going to come into being, and that it is a time of great innovation, change, forward momentum in relationships, and change in the way that we relate and what we value. And knowing that, what are your intentions for this new lunar cycle? Knowing we have also Mercury retrograde, being prepared to go through some mental undoing and review, and just opening your voice to create these new times and not let the new times kind of trample you. So many people are scared or afraid of these things that are taking place in the world, and it's important that we know that we're empowered and we have the choice and we can set the rules for ourselves, and that we decide whether or not we consent to these things are happening, and we have a powerful enough voice to create a ripple effect that can change the entire field. So again, Uranus and Taurus, use your voice, be a part of the change, and send out love, positive energy, and all the things to this beautiful field of creation. So, thanks for watching. I really appreciate everybody for tuning in. I'll look at the comments again if anyone has last-minute questions before I tune out. And you can send donations to my email, dante.filippini@gmail.com or dantestarshine@gmail.com. I'm available for readings until the 11th of January, so sign up for one before then if you'd like, and then I'll have a little bit of a break. I will do one more channeling live stream on Thursday, and from then on I will also be taking a break from that and really focusing on dialing in, editing my book. And beyond that, the channeling course will start again when enough people have signed up. So look at my website, dantestarshine.com/course. All of the info is there. So many people have really changed their lives in amazing ways through this program. So you can set up a free program consultation to me to talk about it and see if it fits for you as a way of really implementing psychic gifts in your life and opening up to your guides and changing your life in so many ways by opening and expanding your awareness and gaining these new tools. I think that's all I've really got to say. I am available for astrology readings if anybody wants. See the comment. Where are the comments? Where'd they go? I love to everyone. Oh, thank you, Lucas. I like them as well. Shiny pen tattoos. And speaking of that, actually, this is the pattern that Venus makes around the Earth. This is called the Pentagram of Venus, or the Rose of Venus. So if Earth is in the center, Venus traces the line. Every 8 years, Venus makes the pattern. So this loop in the center is the Venus retrograde. Once Venus comes to that loop and then starts moving back, as it tracks back, that becomes the Venus retrograde in the loop. And that also means that Venus is closest to the planet that ever becomes right at the beginning of the retrograde, and is still very close now. So that, even though we say it's a review of the planetary energy, it heightens the planetary energy. And it brings love, beauty, and all of these things to the forefront of our lives. And that's what makes us review them. So I put Venus on my hand because Taurus is my moon sign in Western astrology. It's a Venus ruled moon sign, and I just thought this was so beautiful as well. And my ascendant in Vedic astrology is also Taurus, making me a Venus ruled person in both systems. So Venus is here with us, highlighting the love and the beauty and our values. Okay, I think that's it, everybody. Thanks again for tuning in, and I will see you for the live stream channeling or the full moon video or for whatever it may be where we connect. Have a really brilliant, beautiful, blessed day, and catch you next time.